Good mid-morning.
Good morning.
My name is LaDawn, as you heard in the last session. Thank you so much for joining us for an extended conversation with a dynamic panel of your peers to discuss how they are leveraging the solutions that we referenced, as well as some results that they're measuring some real impact into their businesses. If we can please hold questions until the end, I'm going to be right over here on the side of the room, and I will run this mic as soon as we're done with the discussion. As well, please do visit us at the Advisor Marketing Connection Lounge in Cypress Alcove 1. Val, over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone, my name is Valerie Carboni, and I'm a senior manager on the Advisor Marketing team here at Cetera. So we, as promised, are bringing you some more magical insights into the panel discussion today. I'm joined by this wonderful panel of experts alongside me. We're going to be talking about a few different methods that you can elevate your in ways that you can elevate your digital presence, connect more effectively with your clients, and also scale smarter. So our key hope is that all of you come away with this session with, at least one thing that you can put to use right away. So let's get right into it because we have a lot to discuss on the panel today. I'm going to start with everyone just briefly introducing themselves, give a little bit of context about your business, your clients, your advisory mix, and also the community that you're affiliated with, so people out there know. Brett, I'll start with you.
So Brett Amendola with Worcester Square Partners. We're in southern New England, Connecticut. We service predominantly business owners, professionals, the affluent. We're had over 50% fee-based, predominantly in the UMA account. We like SMAs a lot. I say we're in the SMA business, but in the high net worth, ultra high net worth space. Was that your question?
Yeah, that covers it. Tracy?
Hey, I am Tracy Sapp. I'm with TSAP Financial Partners. I'm here in Atlanta. We primarily serve high-achieving women and their families in various stages of their financial journey. My asset mix is a combination of financial planning fees, AUM, and some 401k.
Hi, Dominic DeAndrea, Vanguard Wealth Management, investors line. We predominantly have pre-retired and retirees. Our blend is a combination of advisory, annuities, and insurance.
I'm Paul Ewing, and I'm with Cetera Advisors. Although I currently serve 9 to 5 as I retired at the end of March. One of my longtime passions has been carrying Cetera from its founding.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. So the next thing that we want to go through is just a little bit of context of the marketing solutions that you all have utilized. We went over them in the general session, the 4 of them, and how they relate back to the Hogwarts houses. So how do you all relate to those solutions? I'll start with you, and we'll come back down this way.
Well, I'm Hufflepuff, which is to say that we're going to talk about how we interact with our clients at the very foundation of what marketing means.
I don't hit these houses, so I don't know which house I am. I just love marketing. I love all the tools that we have at Cetera. So I'm just going to talk about what I use to benefit. But New York Pizza is better than me. Sorry.
Ooh.
I'm good.
I also don't know the houses, but I've used Marketing Central, from the Intelligence Engine, ATS, eMoney, Jump, so many of the resources within the suite that Cetera offers.
And Brett?
So I know that, because I've been told, and I saw that I'm a Gryffindor, because we really embraced growth line. But really, I think you're partners and consultants to us, and we utilize you that way. And I'm happy to email you what we have going on. You're happy to email me back your thoughts. I value them. You're really an indispensable part of our business.
Thank you so much. So let's begin with what we talked about right on stage. Let's give people a little bit more context if that got them excited. So you established a brand new brand with us, Worcester Square, through the growth line process. We built a lot of different elements as part of that work. what are some of the key elements to you, the standout elements that have helped to elevate your brand?
It's a complicated question. So, as I said, for us, it was really like we showed up at Ellis Island with just the clothes on our back. We were extricating ourselves from the brand or from a firm that we didn't really, I don't know, it wasn't a good fit. I guess I'll just say it that way. We knew who we wanted, we knew who we thought we were, we needed to prove who we were, we knew who we wanted to be when we grew up. So what you really did is spend an inordinate amount of time of again getting to know us and seeing and sharing and understand our vision and helping us codify that vision. And then really levelizing it, right? Giving us a foundation to grow off of. Whether it be, when I talk about this because I'm proud of it, we've got the business off at our LinkedIn world, which I think we understand better than a lot of other people, and we rely on Marketing Central a lot to push information out. To our website, which is really like the crown jewel for us, that we actively drive people to because we think it's so good, and we've continued to invest in that with video content. To the private briefings that we hold, that you helped us create brand consistency around that. I shouldn't have said I think it's really a continuum that if you do these things, if we engage you with these steps, you in fact become a client. And we've seen that with somebody in my world who went on our website to, I guess, confirm we were real, and then sent us an email through the website, hey, would you talk to me? And she just, paid for the $2 million account. Yeah, we'll talk to her. Right? We're happy to work with her. Yeah, I think so. But I really, again, say that's all to you. You were a phenomenal consultant in helping us flesh out who we were. And it was so granular, the detail and the questions that you asked to get to know us and where we were from. And you worked with me on another website we recently did. I mean, I'm a little detail-oriented, aka crazy. I wanted each picture to mean something. I didn't want stock photos in there. I really wanted it to be us. And I saw a picture that wasn't right. I said, this wasn't right.
Wasn't Italy?
It wasn't Italy, it wasn't occasion, it wasn't a golf course we played. It had to be one of a certain thing, but we have brand continuity. We want to be seen a certain way. We want zero defect. And our clients don't want defect. We don't want defect in our execution. And I think that's what we really got from Growthline. A perfectly executed brand.
Amazing.
That was us.
Yes. And so that was building brand from scratch. We also utilized the Growthline process to refresh brands. So Dominic, that was actually something that you participated in. It ties into our wealth management, but we aim to kind of give that a refresh and bring more content and real-life examples to your website. So take us through your process.
So first, great question. First, you guys here are all at a major advantage. I didn't know Growthline existed last year at Connected Peers, and because I came to Connected Peers, I learned about it, I got on the list, and was able to get a website done late winter, early fall. I thought we had a good website prior. This process was amazing. We had 3 or 4 meetings, we went through it, they were attentive, asking questions, wanted to learn about us. They listened to what our needs were, what our concerns were. We actually helped design some new pages, like you see in the client testimonial page. That wasn't in existence with Growthline, but they only allowed 6. But I said I wanted more. Right now we're up to like 27 in 3 months that I've gotten on there. They want those singles. Like Brett said, with pictures. They brought up an idea about pictures, and I didn't want stock photos. I wanted it to be us and our clients, us and our families. So we ended up delaying our website by about 2 weeks. And we had a professional photographer come to the office. We invited a couple in. So we had some meeting photos. We had family photos. Me and Stefan, our office. I like to have fun. My dog is my chief photo specialist. We brought Cooper into the office, so he's got some pictures. Looks like he's in our meetings. And it's actually gotten us clients. One of the new clients that we got in the last few months looked at Google Advisors, looked at 7 different websites, and not me saying it, not marketing saying it, that of the 7 websites he looked at, ours was by far the most professional. It wasn't even close. So between that and our dog and our testimonials, it was a no-brainer for them to emailed me, calls, we set an appointment the following week, and they became clients. And it's really an extension of us. And anybody here that has intent to want to do this, I highly suggest talking to the marketing team, seeing if you can get on the list and get one done, because it will change your business. They will do something for you that you never would have thought of.
Thank you so much. So that's kind of the side of the business where you acquire new clients, but marketing goes well beyond that, and we're going to touch on kind of the other important aspects of marketing throughout the presentation. So I'm going to move into Marketing Central with my Hufflepuff over there to talk about client communications and how that can help reduce client churn, which is another way that you can achieve growth in your business. So Paul, what are some of the ways that you've been able to ensure that you're a go-to resource for your clients to keep them engaged?
So, in the last century, when CPAs were first starting to consider offering financial services to their clients, so I worked with a number of firms, and I explained to them then that the core of building this adjunct capacity had to do really with marketing. And I broke it into 3 simple phases. It's in your place. Make sure they know that what you offer is available to them. In your face, that is when you are preparing a compelling message that has a call to action that requires urgency, right? And then the final one is in your grace. And that's the way that you ingratiate yourself to the client, so you do what you do best. You be the best you, the way that you connect with your clients and the way they all know you. And having just retired recently, the moments that I've got to have with clients that have come up and said, you don't know how you changed my life. You are having those with your clients, but a lot of those have to do with the moments that are outside of what we do every day. I bet anybody have to say, that asset allocation you did for me, it's never about that. It's never about that. So part of my Caring Cetera involvement with Cetera has us, there are 3 planks to that program. One is a charitable footprint in the places where we meet. When we meet on a national basis like this, we have a national footprint. This conference happens to be the National Council for Economic Education. And if you have any concern at all for financial literacy in your community, then please take a look at that. And I encourage you to go stop by the Caring Cetera desk. She's got a report there that breaks every state down and gives you a financial literacy score. Take a look at that and see where your state lies. So 39 states now that are going to be requiring financial literacy be at least a half semester to graduate K-12. That brings us up to the second piece as we meet the needs of those in our community during their times of personal tragedy, and then when there are national disasters or natural disasters that happen in communities. The natural disaster part just seems to happen again and again. And so we sat as a group and said, wouldn't it be great if we could prepare how to prepare for a natural disaster and what to do in the event. And then my team got together. We're actually a practice with 14 advisors in 6 communities. And so we got together, a study group, and they talked about, okay, how can we better meet? How can we use the tools we have? And that led me to LaDon, who led me to Valerie. And I said, Valerie, if we develop, and she's like, well, let me see what I can do. Next thing I know, she had it all laid out. And the California wildfires just lit a fire under her, I guess. Because if you go on Marketing Central today, you'll find there's the emergency preparedness and communication kit. And that, guys, is core to In Your Grace. Because, finish the sentence for me, they don't know, they don't care what you know until they know that you care. That's the key. This tool is going to do for you in a matter of minutes something you wish you could do. The greatest tragedy of all is when you're in front of a client and say, so how are things? Says, well, I lost my house and my dog about it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess that did happen in your area, didn't it? You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's like that could never happen to you until it does. This helps your clients be prepared. There are great ways. Marketing Central is a big piece of it, but so is AdviceWorks. Using that vault to store critical data and contact information for your clients, that's really important to be able, just like Renegade Pro, we can capture all that information, put that information in there, it all becomes an important part of the piece. But the turnkey nature of what you built, Valerie, is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and Dominic saw this content for the first time on the screen, so maybe it's new for all of you as well. And so we did want to make sure that people knew about the new content that's being published in Marketing Central. We're always trying to make that visible on AdviceWorks. You can go to the Marketing Central section and see everything that we've published within the past month. And we encourage people like Paul and everyone on the stage and all of you in the audience to, let us know what type of content you would like to see. Maybe it's already there. There's 3,500 pieces of content, so we might be able to sift through and find it, but if not, we can publish something new. And I also want to talk about using Marketing Central for custom content, which Tracy, you have done an impeccable amount of work. One slide too far. But you've done an impeccable amount of work in Marketing Central creating your own custom content. So how do you believe that has helped you grow?
Using Marketing Central for client communications has been just a game changer in our business. We have an annual client communication calendar where we've mapped out what we want to talk out each month of the year, and I have marketing partners that help execute it. And we use Marketing Central for all pieces of that, including monthly client communications to our segmented client base, new prospect email series, new client email series. We're connected with social media where we post on Facebook and LinkedIn. Actually, just had our first person come in recently from LinkedIn, just from posts that is exactly who we want to talk to. So it's good when you see that the message is resonating with people. We use Marketing Central to do different events. This year we committed to doing 4 client events this year, which came from talking to another advisor at an event like this. And the first event that we did of the year, on 2 days before the event, we were told that they had double booked and we did not have a location. So after getting on the phone with one of my single girlfriends who knew all the places in Atlanta to suggest a new place, we found a new venue, got it booked, and was able to use the communication tool in Marketing Central to easily communicate to everybody. Hey guys, sometimes throws a monkey wrench at us, new location, hope to see you there, and easily got everyone there. We used my rep chat to send a text message saying the same thing. Everybody showed up, and it creates a sense of client community because everybody felt like we're in this together. This is a great place, the food is great, we're so happy that this worked out. And that has been the biggest, result of using Marketing Central. One of our goals is to have our clients feel like they're part of a community, feel like they know us, and so we send our quarterly newsletter out, which talks about what's happening with me personally, what education I've done. This will be in the newsletter. And what I found is, even though we do a lot of customization, it really does just matter that you're getting the information out there, that you're contacting your clients regularly, because when they have life changes, they don't always think to call you immediately, but if they get that email from you that just says, hey, we just took our daughter on 5 college visits, we'll let you know soon where she's going to school, it triggers something to them to say, oh, thanks for the note, but hey, let's talk about my kid's college fund, or whatever it is that's going on in their life. So it's been a great tool for us to stay in front of clients on a regular basis and prospects on a regular basis, to stay in front of them when life is changing so they can reach out to us and know that we're there for them when they need us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think another major topic that has come up, we have the ongoing communications, we have the examples that Paul was referencing. I think something else that came up a lot over the past year was market volatility. And so Brett, I know that you have kind of an anecdote of how you've been able to utilize the Terra Investment Management content and just your general outreach with clients has kind of helped you to steer those conversations. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I can, thank you. So we had a strategy in place that initially started around the election. We did a Zoom, which is not something we necessarily like to do. It was our first one, we avoided doing it. And we had Gene Coleman do it for us. So we marketed that through LinkedIn and Central and email, so we had a pretty good turnout. And then that was pre-election. Then right after the election, we started making phone calls, as well as we were posting and promoting everything that Cetera Investment Management did. Right before the inauguration, we really doubled our phone calls, continued to make them, and continued that through to then what became, was it called Independence Day? It was actually my birthday, April 2nd, then the market crashes the next day. And I was at a conference in New York, the world's going ahead, I'm sitting at the thing, not talking to anybody. I get out in the cab, I looked on my phone, and one of our best clients actually sold his business. We hope to get that money before the end of the year. He just had his first hole-in-one. So I called him and congratulated him, and I called him, and actually the first thing he says is, so you're calling to talk about the market? And I said, no, I've been in a meeting all day, I'm calling to talk about your hole-in-one. And he just started laughing, and thought that was so great that he was expecting a phone call, he knew we were there, but it was personal. And I think really that happens throughout. We think of ourselves as a new cutting-edge firm, but also old school, and that we have unbelievable contact with our people. And when yesterday we were in a session where Cetera Investment Management talked about their new, piece on Tour de France. So we pushed that out, but then we also made phone calls on it. Hey, did you see that? Are you engaging in it? I sent our team an email, hey, have you actually read this? Who are you calling to talk about it? And it doesn't just exist in a vacuum, we have to bring it to life. And I probably said this too much, I really think you've helped us do that and been a good consultant around that. But you've created great things, but I think you said in a different way just now, we have to bring it to life.
Absolutely, and we've seen each of you do that in various ways. So there's the proactive communication where we're using our channels for marketing, and that's really fantastic for client communication. It sounds like it also has been working for prospecting as well, which is fantastic. Dominic, I'm going to turn to you for kind of our next section where we talk about kind of using the conversations that you have and the tools that you have in technology here at Cetera to gather more insights about your clients to grow that share of wallet. I think the reason that this is so important, and I think Mike Durbin brought this up in the general session as well, but I'll repeat it again, that there was a Hearts and Wallet study that came out recently that said, on average, most of you are only getting 39% of your clients' wallet share. So how do we get more of that? So Dominic, I'm going to turn to you.
Great question.
To answer that.
In my 6 years at Cetera, some of the stuff that we're going to talk about didn't exist, which goes to show what Mike Durbin said earlier, that they keep adding things to what we're doing. The first platform I added was Nitrogen, which, as Brett was talking about market volatility, it's been the biggest asset for me with market volatility, because every new prospect and client that I deal with gets an investment policy statement, and they see where the market is in different times. So when the market's down, I don't get phone calls. I make proactive calls, but I'm not getting calls because then those clients are not worried. Jump AI, one of our newest tools, it is the biggest asset that's been added to the company. You're hiring an assistant for $100 and change a month, or the team a little bit more than that, where they're taking the notes, where I'm able to tell clients and prospective clients that I'm listening to them, I'm being attentive to them. I'm not sitting there saying, oh my God, what did you say? And even more importantly, especially if you're a team, because I'll say, okay, well, today Stefan's not sitting down with Stefan, will tell them I'm not in the meeting. But if they call up, Stefan can go in the CRM and see the notes. And they're so detailed, it's almost like he was on the appointment. So the client feels that they're getting special treatment because Stefan knows what this client's doing, where there's no way I would have put anywhere near that detail into notes for that client in the CRM. The last one that I've been using recently is Wealth.com as far as the lead gen. Because my clients love it. When I talk to them about it, I'm on my 6th or 7th plan next week. But more importantly, the biggest thing they're thinking of is, who can I refer you to? They need to be a client. And they're not, because we're building them on fee for service. So they're technically becoming a client once I send them an invoice to pay the bill. But now clients are thinking of different ways to refer us. So it's another way for us to grow, another lead engine. So my thing is just look at what we have and figure out which of these tools can benefit you and help you grow your practice.
I want to add with Jump AI. I use Jump as well, and not only does Jump create the notes and take that burden off of you, the efficiency it creates in your client communication and running your practice, I've not seen anything like it. So the other two pieces of Jump where at the end of your meetings, it creates a checklist. All the to-do items that came out of the meeting are there, and you can easily go in and edit the list. You can assign it to someone. You can put a due date on it. You can categorize it by, is this client service? Is this a scheduling task? And it's automatically sent to your team member or yourself, like whoever you're signing it to, versus, typing an email after the meeting or sitting down with your team member and saying, hey, here's what happened. It's just a huge time saver. And then the emails that it creates after the meeting with a follow-up. Here's what we talked about. Here are your action items. Here's what I'm going to do. That can immediately be sent to the client after you review it. Same thing, when you're trying to build that relationship and you're trying to be present and then, make sure people, that you heard what they said and they know that you were there and present at the meeting, it creates a great efficiency, and so it's a great tool in that regard. Also, when you talked about the communication on things that happen, using the resources that Cetera sent, like the market updates that they send out, or from Cetera or from any of our strategic partners, when you are in front of clients and you are getting ahead of the fact that we will have however many Black Swan events or market dips, when you're able to communicate that through your first meetings with them, when you're able to send out regular communications to say, hey, I saw what happened with tariffs, here's my 2 cents on it, and here's what the experts are saying, just want to let you know I'm on top of it, you don't get all those phone calls. You don't have clients that are stressed out. You're able to really continue to manage your client relationships and manage your business versus reacting to people freaking out on what they're hearing in the news. So using these tools makes it very easy and quick for you to get that information out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tracy, I'm actually going to go to you for the next question too, because we also know that there's some more sophisticated tools in the intelligence engine tool set that you've been utilizing over the past year. So give us some insight into how these more financial planning and retirement planning tools are actually also helping you grow and expand share of wallet.
So I started using ATS over 2 years ago, and it's a holistic, I would say, asset allocation and income planning tool. And it is one of these things where, like when you talk about, you have to have this in your practice. ATS is something that makes it so clear to communicate to clients that they won't run out of money in retirement. And they're able to see their net worth. Even I'm using money as well, so they're able to see their net worth. They're able to see this plan won't fail because here's a chart showing we did 1,000 iterations and it's not going to fail. They're able to see that I will have this much income for the rest of my life. This much is guaranteed. This much is not. And you do all of that and get that client on board with the process without even talking about a product. And that's huge, because I've done it many ways. I've sent client portfolios to strategists and had them analyze it and use that as like the, hey, here's what we need to do with your portfolio, but that's kind of product specific. You can have a very high level and detailed conversation with the client without even speaking on product, and they believe that they're on track and they're going to meet their goals. I had a client come in a few weeks ago, maybe like a month ago, and life changed. She's finally ready to retire in 2 years. So she's motivated to talk about all these things that we've been talking about for years. We took the information that we had for her and put it into ATS, put together a plan for her. There's a piece on ATS that shows all of their assets, and then it shows what's available for retirement and what's not available for retirement. So they're able to see we're only talking about this bucket of money. What I was able to show her, though, was that the value of her business that now she was talking about selling, which would have been about $1 million, that's now money that's available to go back into her plan in a couple of years when she sells the business. But we were able to see that this is what we're working on now. This money will be available. So I was able to see another opportunity to build into her assets and grow her net worth. So ATS is, I will say, there's a learning curve. They have a phenomenal team, though. I mean, they had a session yesterday and they have a booth. You just get on their calendar. I've actually incorporated into my process, You know, we get it into ATS before I meet with the clients. Even though I've been doing this for a couple of years, I just jump on their calendar for 45 minutes to an hour. We go through the plan together, make sure everything is in order. Sometimes we tweak things to make sure that it's done the right way for the client. So, great tool to easily communicate that you will not run out of money without having to talk about who's going to manage the money at all.
Right. So you all have been early adopters of some of these tools. So I would like to share with the audience today who are thinking about implementing some of these things. You know, be transparent about maybe some hurdles that you have, but also how you've overcome them and how you've learned the new tools. So Dominic, I'll start with you with that.
The greatest thing is every one of the tech tools that I talked about, and Tracy was talking about, all have a free trial period. So if you're thinking of any of these tech solutions to add to your practice, contact them. Give them a call. They'll usually give you a free trial period that you can test it out. They'll onboard you. They'll walk you through it. They'll educate you. They'll make sure that you understand enough to be dangerous. You might not get, like Tracy said, you might not get it 100% day one, but they'll make it that you can present it to a client. Because when you're showing to a client, they don't know what they're expecting. So if you make a slight mistake early on, odds are they're not going to know you did it. So I would definitely contact them, talk to them once a year, call the ones that aren't here if you want to talk to them. They will all walk you through it and all will give you some kind of free trial that you can practice with.
Yeah. And then you were also saying learning from your peers was a great one too.
Yes. So you have the four of us here, we're talking about stuff. It's connected peers. There's not one of you that if you come up to me at lunch, come to me at dinner, come to me at the bar and say, could you talk to me about this? I would gladly say yes. I would gladly sit down with you and we can talk. And I know my peers would do the same thing. So pick our brains. I've had numerous conversations on jumpinwell.com already here, and we're only a day and a half in.
Tracy, anything to add to that?
I would just say, give it time. Someone asked a question earlier, like they said something like, I'm the only person in my practice, so how do I do all these things? I think you do have to commit, right? So if you put Jump AI into your practice, then you gotta have some time to get to know it, get to, figure out how to customize and make it work for you. So these tools aren't magical. They're not magical, but it requires effort, right? And so in order for it to really give you what it's supposed to, block out time to, get on the call with them. They have their little, webinars where you can learn. They have great support teams. Every time I have a client meeting where we're talking about portfolio management, before I present an ATS plan, I just jump on a quick call, and it's just part of the process. So I think if you go into it with that expectation, because I think we've all tried. There's so many software tools out there. We've tried so many, and then sometimes you get 6 months into it, and you're like, this just isn't for me. And maybe it's not for you, but sometimes it could be that you really didn't, put into it what you needed to put into it to get it. So that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get that continuous support from the teams that you're partnering with and the technology that you're partnering with. Fantastic. Well, we are actually kind of towards the end, I think, of content, and then we want to get to questions. So I'll rely on each of you. We have talked about, obviously your expertise and the solutions that you've adopted, but would love if each of you could just leave the audience with kind of a final thought. So Paul, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I think, as you look at where you're going from here, I think it's important to start with strategy, and then the tactics will follow. And I think as you set the objectives for what your strategy is, if you think of those quadrants right, so this is really important for me to do for business and client purposes, and this aligns well with my values of what I want to be as a practice. And then you ask yourself, how am I doing within your place? How important is that? How well am I doing at executing that, or getting that message out there? I mean, do my clients and their centers of influence, do they know what it is I do? How well am I doing in creating compelling and urgency-provoking messages? And then finally, what am I doing? The cards, the letters, the phone calls on the birthdays, the birthday cakes for big birthdays, all those things. they're really touch your client. How important is that in your ethos of your practice, and how well you're doing at it? From that, it'll become real clear those things which are high priority but medium to low execution. That's where your strategy needs to be now. And it will, you keep doing those assessments, and which of these tools you should do next will become obvious.
Yes, the best value I can say, I attend 6 to 8 conferences a year. Most of you are here, you took 4 days out of your practice because you thought you find value there, which you definitely will. But don't try to drink from a fire hose. Pick 1 to 3 ideas. Definitely pick the first one you want to implement and work from there. You can always go back and find more, but if you try to implement 7 or 8 ideas, I promise you, in a few weeks, even if you get what they were in, you weren't here. Pick 1 to 3 ideas, work on those, and refresh with your notes if you find any more ideas after.
Yeah, and that's what we really tried to do with the marketing serving hat quiz that we just unveiled to you all. I don't know if you had the chance to scan the QR code yet. If you haven't, you can do it at our lounge again. But if marketing is something that you're looking to invest more time in over the next couple of months, next year or so, but you don't know where to start with all of the solutions that we've been talking about, that quiz could be an easy way for you to identify what your top priorities are. Tracy?
And I would add to what he said is that when you identify those 3 or so things, map out a what can I get done in 30, 60, 90-day plan so that you actually get it done, right? So if you walk away with 5 things, just map out when you can get those things done over the next, 30, 60, 90 days to make sure that you actually execute. I would say my key takeaway is, marketing really isn't optional anymore. LaDon said something earlier in the marketing breakfast about how all of the marketing solutions that Cetera has in place is really focused on growth. It's not just, you have to have a website, it's like a business card. It's what is your website doing for you? What is, how are you getting more market share, expanding the share of wallet? So all of these tools are set up to get more business for you. And so we really have to embrace technology. And I know it can be overwhelming depending on where you are, whether you're 25 or 55. But I think it's important to embrace it and realize it's really not optional in our practice anymore. And you just have to figure out what pieces make sense for you. So there's the quiz, there's trial and error, there's talking to your peers, but you've got to figure out what pieces make sense for you, and then monitor. I do an annual assessment every year to say what subscription might I cancel this year because I feel like I have so many of them. Just to make sure things are still working. So that would be my takeaway.
Thank you, Tracy. And Brett, final thought?
I agree with what they all said. I think we're all looking for our unfair advantage. Right? For me, our unfair advantage is the execution of our brand, but what's the unfair advantage you're looking for? Frankly, I think being in this room is an unfair advantage. I'm not sure our competitors do this at this level and this degree of candor. Not that I'd say you got to find your unfair advantage. I found it with Cetera and Growth Line and continued execution. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for your insights so far. I'd love to give a round of applause for Alright, so with that, we did want to make sure that we left some time for questions, and we do have plenty. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, and LaDon will try to run over our mic so that we can hear you well.
Other mic runners too.
Okay, great. We have multiple.
Thank you. I have a quick question about Jump AI. I really am ready to pull the trigger and take the trial, but I've got some people in my office that are very leery other reps in our office. We have a joint rep team. And we don't do a lot of Zoom meetings. We're going to have to slide a phone over there across the table and say, okay, I think it has to be framed correctly, but I want to know from my peers and from you guys, has there been any pushback against that?
Yeah, great
Can
question.
I address that?
Please.
I have yet to have any pushback, and the reason I don't have pushback is I set it up with, I'll sit down and say, today we're meeting, I want to be attentive on this conversation with you, I want to have the best notes I can have, I want my business partner, Stefan, to be able to review it, so we're going to be taking notes, and if it's in person, I trust on my phone or my iPad, depending on what I'm using that day. And basically, if you call up, and I'm not there, so the fund will know exactly what we're talking about. You're showing the client the value, why it's important to them. Even though it's important to us, turn it on that it's important to them. And then mostly, and I'm talking, I've done this with clients in their 20s and 30s to their 50s and 60s. And nobody has said to me, no, please don't do that. And then I thought, look, it gets rid of all the personal stuff. You know, I'll sit down with clients that have known me for 30 years. And like my son just graduated high school. And they're like, oh my God, your son is 18, graduated high school. I knew that before I was even married. None of that gets put in the notes. And I've had this conversation with clients since I've been using it. It's only the business stuff. Social Security's not in there, beneficiary information's not in there. It's just the pertinent stuff that you need to be able to review.
That's great, thank you so much.
Well, Donna, I know there's a question over here.
Oh.
Who's gonna win?
We have two questions in the same area, so.
This is a question for Dominique. I'm sorry to ask you. But you mentioned that you use wealth.com.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
I was looking into it and I wanted to know how comfortable you feel about that, considering that maybe you are a lawyer, so I should.
Not a lawyer.
And so I just want to know how comfortable you feel, or if you have questions regarding, liability issues, regarding helping a client do a will, and what I think our role is, and if there are questions, like who can you turn to further research into that?
Great question. I am not a lawyer. I don't play a lawyer on TV. Basically, it's a very intuitive program. We're walking the client through the process. So I like to do it in my office because I have two screens. So I plug the device into the screen. The client can answer the questions. I can see what they're talking about, so I can help them. But I'm not doing it because the program is extremely intuitive. So as the client answers the question, it guides them in the right direction and where to go. I send each client, there's two free questionnaires. One is for single people, one is for couples. So they can have all this stuff laid out when they come there. So they know it's not me telling them what to do. I'm not telling them how they should enter healthcare proxy, power of attorney, trust. If there is something more elaborate, Wealth.com has a fantastic 1-800 number where you're not putting in nuclear codes to get to a human being, you actually get to a human being. Call centers in this country, so people that understand our verbiage and our cultures, so they get the questions answered very easily. If there is something a little more elaborate, which I had to do with one of my clients, they have an attorney consultation, which the client gets a half hour for $249 to talk to the lawyer, which I used Jump AI, the one I had to do. So I was able to maximize the client's value because we were able to rattle questions off over those 30 minutes because I was learning to take notes. Jump AI did it. As soon as the meeting was over, I sent the notes to the client so she can talk to her trustee so they can help decide and make an educated decision on what works for them. So all we're doing is facilitating it and guiding it. I'm not professing to do it, and again, if somebody has something way more elaborate than what we can handle, because there are cases, I'll refer them to one of the lawyers that I've referred to in the past.
So I'd like to speak to that because I've also served on the Technology Advisory Council, and so I've been involved with the approval of that product. And there's two different needs for those services. Every kid who goes off to college should have a power of attorney to his parents, right? But how many do? They all should. But when you say to time, well, you need to go get to see your attorney about that, nothing happens, right? So we need a tool that can take care of that non-controversial matter. I will say this, we know that Wealth.com will not defend their document in court. So if it's going to be, if it's a controversial case, it should not, that's not the tool for it. They are increasingly complex, and they're adding more complexity now, and they're adding more kinds of trust, which is very promising. And they're adding a capacity soon where you'll be able to diagram future impacts of the estate. So you'll be able to go in and say, okay, you barely have a taxable estate today, But in another 10 years, this is what that building look like if you don't do something about it today. And so, as we look at wealth.com, we don't look at it as a replacement for a lot of the cases that you are referring out to attorneys because they deserve to be there. But when you look at those cases where they would do nothing if you didn't give them a more accessible solution, it's better than nothing. When you look at the tools in terms of what it's going to be able to do in the future, to do more complex cases, documents, even if it's just to study it, and if you look at what it can be doing in the future in terms of future planning, that looks more like a Money Guide Pro does now for on the financial side. I think you're going to really like that tool, and that's what went into the approval to the decision to approve it. Hope that helps.
Thank you.
Do either of you use a tool to gather preliminary information on prospect? So they might see your website, they might see you on LinkedIn, and they say, hey, I want to talk to you, but you don't want to schedule a meeting without vetting the client in some capacity. Is there a tool that you guys use?
I just use the questions on Calendly. So when people schedule our get to know us meeting or our discovery meeting, we have a series of questions that they have to answer, and it just gets sent to me as an email. And we actually, it gets sent to an email, but then we also have it connected with our CRM where it goes, a contact is created in the CRM with those notes, so we have all that stuff saved.
And I've always been of the mindset that I'll meet anybody once, but when they contact me through some kind of social media marketing mechanism, I make sure I lead them to my website and tell them to go to my transparency and fees page so they can see all my costs so they know what they're expecting. So if the client has less than $250,000 investable assets, they know that for a full plan, they're going to charge $2,500 a year until they get there. So they have the expectation. So they might say, oh my God, I'm not going to pay this guy $2,500, so they'll cancel the appointment. So I'm directing them because I want them to read that so they're coming in knowing I'm going to bring that up if they don't have the investable assets.
And to that point, with Calendly, we use the workflows of Calendly too. So, first we collect all the information we need, like who referred you to us, did you have a life change? Did any of these things happen? Why are you calling? Whatever you'd like to know. And then once we get that information into our database, we send out a quick thank you to the person who referred them, just to say we appreciate it. But then we have a series of emails that go out. Emails that go out before the next meeting that directs them to our website. This is how we work with clients, so that they know a little bit about us before we actually have the meeting.
Yeah, I saw that sequence. That's really smart. Any other questions? I think we have time for at least one more question. If we have anyone else who wants to get some insight.
I would like to add, if you're going to use the EPAC efficiently and effectively with quick trigger, right? So an incident occurred. If you're sync up your red tail with Marketing Central, you'll need to have city, state, and zip code in as keywords, correct?
Yeah. Tag groups in your
Yeah. Tag groups.
Tag groups.
There we go.
Yeah.
And in that way, you can quickly go and people will tell you what impacted areas are, and you can then off their website, and then you can type those in, and it goes. Otherwise, you're doing some searching, and whoever has time for that.
Thank you. We forgot to bring that up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I guess this question is for Dominic. We've always been fee-based financial planning in our office, and we're looking at wealth.com. It's a couple questions. Do you charge extra for it? You position it up front? And again, we have a lot of high-end, we wouldn't use that for, but do you position that up front as part of the planning process, or do you also charge extra for that?
I charge, our team, we charge $1,500 for a plan because there is a value to it. The client knows that most lawyers are $4,000 plus for similar documents, so they have no problem doing it. Look, if somebody comes to me and they have $10 million and it's a deal breaker to get $10 million, I'll waive it to get $10 million in assets, but I'm never going to advertise we're waiving it. Unlike we're a consulting fee, we do waive once we get another $250,000 because I'm getting assets. So, and I want clients to be able to refer me to their friends and family on the estate planning side and know that I'm charging $1,500. So it's not like, okay, if I charge Brett $1,500, Brett prefers me to Paul, or Paul's got $10 million, Brett might be upset with me if I charged him $15 and didn't charge Paul $1,500. So I don't foresee it being an issue. Like I said, it hasn't been one yet. I'll address it if it comes down to it, but my intent is to charge every person who do the plan with the $1,500 charge. And that's not through price, pay fee for service.
We've looked at the model and I think you're onto something, but we've looked at it as a way to create value for next generations for some of our private clients. So clients generate more than $15,000 in revenue for the firm a year. We're looking at ways to create value, right? Because if you're generating $50,000 a year, probably the degree of services we provide you aren't that different from the 15, right? But there's a big difference in that fee. And so we're looking at ways to create value and protect that next generation. So you may consider that too. That's a very low risk transaction compared.
All right. Did we get any other hands raised? We might have time for one.
Catch us in the hallway. That's where it happens.
Or the bar.
Yes, actually, let me use the last minute or two to let you all know, and just a quick reminder that our advisory marketing team will be available over in Cyprus, Alcove 1. If any of you can join us over there for a few minutes and people can ask their questions as well, that would be great. And you can take the quiz, chat with us, learn a little bit more, answer your very specific question, whatever you all need. So with that, I'll let you all take a break and